You and I had a conversation the other day off the air where we were talking about what Trump is trying to do, what his end game is. Trump and Bessent playing the Robin
Oh
Hood.
yeah, yeah. Well, I really believe that, and I support this. I think he's gone to the Fed and he's taken on the Fed and he's loading the board and he's going to get rates down. Now, I don't I don't necessarily agree with where he wants to put rates based on some of the things he said, but they're still too high. These rates are not market rates. Let's put it that way. I talked to a big Fed funds trader that we both know, and he said to me, "I'm getting money in the marketplace from clients 80 basis points below Fed funds, and I'm selling them to the Fed." He's arbing the Fed for 80 basis points. That tells me that the market rate for money is at least a 0.5% lower than the Fed's got it right now. So
And
it's
this is
not
what Rand Paul
2%.
was saying. This is
It's
what
not
Rand Paul.
2%, but it's a 0.5%. So I think Trump, his goal is to load the Fed and bring the short end lower. Now, the short end is arbitrarily high, primarily because the Fed pays interest on reserves. So the Fed controls that side of the short end. It negates the market, in effect. It's got the power to do that. It's had it since '08. So he loads the Fed, gets his chairman in, and gets Fed funds lower. Maybe a half, maybe a point, I don't know, but lower. And now the yield curve steepens. The market goes crazy. Inflation, they're ignoring inflation, which is partially true. And this 2% target they've thrown away, clearly. I mean, they're 5 years below it now. 5 years they've been over that target. Um, so, so market's going to get really worked up about inflation. Maybe that's what you're seeing now with gold. The yield curve steepens, long end yields are higher, short end yields are lower, and then in steps Bessent. And Bessent says, I'm not going to issue any more 30 years, or I'm going to issue a very small amount, 30-year, small amount of 20-year, or no 20-year, no 10-year, because I want mortgage rates lower. I'm going to do all my funding on the short end. And maybe he doesn't say it, maybe he just does it. And you start to see the Treasury auction calendars uh, void of the long end, and all the funding steps up in the short end. Because, number one, the rates are lower. And number two, it's a bigger liquid pool of money. It's much easier to short to fund the debt on the short end than the low end. There's just more market money around than there is investors' insurance money, right? I mean, how many people buy the 30-year? So so he funds the debt. Bessent funds the debt through short end issuance, and that brings the Fed funds puts short term pressure on rates, basically because of Treasury supply, demand for money, supply of debt, and the short rates flatten out again. But I'm laying out a 6 to 18 month time horizon here. So the first step is the Trump Fed forces rates lower on the short end. Fed funds drop, market gets crazy about inflation. All of that takes place, and then Bessent steps in and says, "Okay, here's your new Treasury auction calendar," and all the issuance shows up in the short end. So that's my scenario, and I believe it 100%. I have a
This
lot
is
of
what
faith in
Rubin
it.
did. The blueprint is what Rubin and Clinton did back in the mid
Absolutely.
'90s. Yep. The only
I would
problem is,
call it Rubenesque, but that has a different term.
yeah, and the only problem is in 2 3 years time you're rolling all of that debt again, and I guess there's no other way around it. He can't get Congress to stop spending, so he's got to find a way to alleviate some of that pressure and doing
Well, he
it.
seems to be nibbling at it, and the numbers are so not large you can't say nibbling, but I think the tariff revenue is a piece of that. He had some faith in Doge, and there will be some impact from what Doge did. Maybe not what we look for, but some impact. That's another bite that's taken. and the savings on funding the short end reduces the interest on the debt. So all in all, by the time Trump is gone, the picture looks better. But you're right, the rollover starts in 3 years instead of 10 years.